Dana got a raise every single year for 11 years straight. Not huge ones, not the kind you'd frame or brag about at Thanksgiving. Just steady, respectable 3 to 5% bumps that showed up in July like clockwork. 11 raises, 11 years. And last month, when Dana sat down to actually calculate her net worth for the first time in her adult life, she found $4,100 in checking, $6,000 in a 401k she barely remembered opening, and a car loan with 3 more years on it. Across the hall from Dana sits a guy named Aaron who makes $8,000 less. Aaron drives a car that's older than some of the interns. He brings the same lunch every day in the same scratched-up Tupperware. Has just under $210,000 sitting in his 401k, on a smaller salary, in the same building, doing the same job. Dana asked him, half joking, half desperate, what his secret was. Just shrugged and said, "I never really noticed the raises. My name is Horizon, and today we're talking about why your salary can climb every single year, while your actual wealth stays exactly where it started." Before we get into it, the standard disclaimer: I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. This is just what happens when you spend an unreasonable amount of time staring at income and wealth data. Median household income has grown modestly but steadily over the past few decades. Median household net worth outside of home equity remains shockingly thin. Rising income, stagnant liquid wealth. 2 lines on a graph that are supposed to move together. So what's happening in that gap? Where does the money? Inflation doesn't show up as one big stupid decision. It shows up as 100 small, completely reasonable ones. You get a raise, and the very first thing that happens is that your brain recalibrates what normal feels like. The apartment that felt perfectly fine last year suddenly feels a little cramped. The car that ran great suddenly has a rattle you can't ignore anymore. The restaurant you used to save for a special occasion becomes a casual Tuesday. You earned it. You deserve it. Let's put real numbers on Dana's situation. Say Dana started at $62,000 a year. Her salary by year 11 would be sitting somewhere north of $95,000. Dana brought in an extra $200,000 or more in cumulative raises alone. She has $4,100 in checking and $6,000 in a 401k to show for it. It went into a slightly bigger apartment when her lease renewed the first time. From a used sedan to a newer one with a few more features, financed instead of paid outright, a gym membership, a slightly nicer wardrobe, vacations that felt earned, a phone upgrade every 2 years instead of every 4. Lifestyle inflation isn't about spending irresponsibly. It's about spending proportionally to income instead of spending proportionally to a plan. When there's no plan, income becomes the only ceiling, which means the ceiling keeps rising right along with the paycheck. Aaron isn't some extraordinary disciplined monk. Aaron just did one thing differently. Aaron set up an automatic escalation on his 401k contribution. That increases his contribution percentage by 1 point every single year, automatically. A chunk of it was already spoken for before it ever touched his checking account. Never got used to having that money in the first place. He never developed a lifestyle that depended on it. This isn't a story about Dana being weak-willed or foolish. Dana is smart. Dana works hard. The raise was just fuel, and fuel without a system to capture it just burns off into the atmosphere. That's not a character flaw. That's a systems failure. Nobody throws a party because you increased your automatic retirement contribution by 1%. Spending is the part that gets applause. Saving is invisible by design. Inflation doesn't just fail to build wealth. It actively raises the cost of your future. Behavioral economists call it the hedonic treadmill, the tendency for humans to quickly get used to improvements. That first month with the nicer car feels genuinely thrilling. By month 4, it's just the car you drive to the grocery store. You have a perfectly normal human brain operating with 0 guardrails in an economy that's extremely good at selling you the next thing. If the raise itself isn't the thing that builds wealth, what is? The percentage of every dollar you earn that you never allow yourself to see, paying yourself first. It's a structural decision made exactly once that removes the decision from your hands entirely. Willpower is a finite, depletable resource. Modern life is specifically engineered by extremely well-funded companies to erode it. You've replaced willpower with architecture, and architecture doesn't get tired. Say you're 30 years old, earning $70,000 a year. That $583 a month grows to somewhere in the neighborhood of $850,000 to $900,000. What happens if, every single time you get a raise, you commit half of the raise to that same automatic savings mechanism? What if there isn't room? Rent alone eats 40% of your income. Housing costs relative to income have climbed substantially. None of that is a personal failing. That's an economic reality. The moment margin does appear, a raise, a bonus, a paid-off car, the instinct has to be to intercept it immediately. Incomes at the lower and middle end have grown much more slowly, while the cost of the basics has climbed sharply. Dana isn't struggling to pay rent. Dana has $4,100 in checking and a car payment on a car that's nicer than it needs to be. Aaron told Dana the hardest part was the first year when he had to actually decide to turn it on. After that first decision, it stopped being a decision at all. It just became how his paycheck worked. Discipline is what gets you to flip the switch. Automation is what keeps the switch flipped. Go look at your most recent raise. Write down the actual dollar amount of that increase, monthly. Ask yourself honestly, where did that money actually go? Go set up an automatic increase to whatever you're currently investing. Start with even a single percentage point. Do this every single time you get a raise going forward. On the same day the raise takes effect, I opened a free community where I go deeper into exactly this kind of practical structural approach. Dana went home that same week and increased her 401k contribution by 3 percentage points. She's not going to catch up to Aaron's 11-year head start overnight. But she stopped the bleeding. Your salary rising was never the finish line. It's just fuel. Build the thing that catches it. Do it before the next raise lands, not after. Years from now, that one decision is going to be the entire difference between wondering where all your raises went and quietly, boringly, having become the kind of wealthy nobody ever saw coming.